Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast on this 19th of March 2019. I'm your host, Cyril Gerald Quinn, discussing the world of sports and pop culture. As always, you can find this podcast streaming live here on our YouTube channel. We'll definitely be shifting over to Blog Talk Radio sometime later on tomorrow. Probably I'm gonna say tomorrow evening. It'll be available through Blog Talk Radio, but again, YouTube, Stitcher, iTunes, Apple.iTunes. Look up Real Deal Podcast. You can find us in a variety of places as we anchor as well, possibly maybe Anchor. I'm not sure yet, but you'll be able to find us in a variety of places. I'm gonna begin with a birthday shout out to my mother, who is no, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna tell her age, but doesn't look her age. So happy birthday to her, as it being 12:21. We're doing a late night podcast. Didn't get one in last week. Not last week. Didn't get one in over the weekend. So we doing sometimes we do like to switch it up, do a late night. I want to give a salute before we get to all the tournament stuff. I'm going to give you my bracket, not the entire bracket. I'm not going to give you every single pick. I'll give you the majority of the picks and the sleepers and my championship and Final Four picks. But I want to give a salute to the San Antonio Spurs, man. How many times have we counted out the Spurs and just been dead ass wrong? About 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, I said this team they didn't look like a playoff team. Now they stand. They've won nine straight. They had a great win versus Golden State, and Golden State was playing hard. Golden State wanted to win that game. This wasn't one of these Golden State games where they just cough it up or just come out there. Golden State with a half-ass effort. Golden State was trying to win this game, but San Antonio is playing great. Popovich is Popovich. That franchise, the consistency, they don't make any excuses. No matter who leaves, how many new players they have, year in and year out, they are the the gold standard of franchises in American sports. That's all there is to it. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I understand that Cousins did not play in this game for Golden State, but whatever. They got four All Stars. Durant came back, so I mean, I'm not certainly not making any excuses for San Antonio for Golden State, not for Golden State, but San Antonio is playing as well as any team in the league right now, winning nine straight. So just a salute to them. And right now, as we stand here on the 19th of March, the San Antonio Spurs are fifth in the Western Conference, tied with Portland, and it could. Well, they can't go ahead because they're actually two games in loss column, but tied with Portland, a game behind Portland, two games in loss column, but fifth, tied with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who of course lost last night without Russell Westbrook, which you knew they would once he got that suspension off that ridiculous technical foul, which was just completely idiotic and selfish on his by him on Saturday night against Golden State. We'll talk more about the NBA over the course of the program. I just wanted to salute the San Antonio Spurs because it's just getting a model of consistency year in and year out. They get it done. Get it done. They just should be definitely needed to be acknowledged. Again, ninth straight win tonight over a Golden State team that had two great wins in their own right over the course of the past couple games. But we're going to get to the NCAA tournament. Of course, we'll begin tomorrow with the first four, Tuesday and Wednesday. Then the real games, where the major players will begin all on Thursday afternoon at around a little bit after noon or so, noon or 2 p.m. I think the first game is at 12. To be honest with you, I think the first game, yeah, will be around 12:40 or so on Thursday. And listen, this tournament, right? Looking at the brackets, There are not that many quality teams. It's top heavy, but I don't think the top teams are great. Um, People are put Duke is a overwhelming favorite, the biggest favorite since Kentucky in 2015. Whatever that means, really doesn't mean anything because that if you remember, that was the Karl Anthony Towns team that lost. A historically loaded Kentucky team, a Kentucky team that had no business losing, that should have went undefeated, lost to Wisconsin in the semifinals in 2015. That team had no business losing, none whatsoever. Not forget, let alone in the national semifinal. But Duke is the overwhelming favorite, and I don't think this is a great Duke team. I think they have great talent. Just because you have great talent doesn't make you a great team. I don't compare this Duke team. I've seen many of Duke teams that are better teams than this particular team. This is not a dominant team, but they are deservedly the favorite to win it. They have the most talent. You still got Coach K. Um, they of course were the number one overall seed in the coming off the ACC tournament win. Where if there was any doubts or question marks about Zion Williamson and the ability, his just you know generational skills that he has. I mean, some of the stuff I saw on social media, I'm trying to. I'm in the process of just completely disconnecting from social media. To be honest with you, that's a personal thing. That goes beyond some of y'all's dumb opinions that I see on Facebook every day. But in terms of sports and other things, in particular sports, some of the stuff is just you just look at it and laugh. But some of the stuff on Zion Williamson, I'm like, are you watching the same games that I watched? I mean, somebody heard somebody say Zion Williamson didn't deserve Player of the Year because he missed 5 games. I'm like, what are we talking about here? I mean, he played 26 out of 31 games, but he is a generational talent. He the game moves slow for him. I mean, he's never in a rush. And I implore you to, even if you hate Duke, you have to watch this guy play. He knows how to play basketball. He knows how to play basketball, and that is the highest compliment that I can possibly even give him, because he's a guy who is don't get caught up in the athleticism. Don't that will that's like that's just not you're not being fair to him. You're not paying attention. You just get caught up in what he can do athletically. So, and that was a great game on Friday night. Easy game with Duke and North Carolina. North Carolina easily could have won that game. Game, but the difference was, of course, Zion and Duke. Of course, you knew the ACC final was going to be a foregone conclusion. Nothing really to complain about as far as the seeding, as far as you know the committee. I know a lot of people want to go crazy about Michigan State, Michigan, and the committee, the chairman's excuse on why Michigan State was put in the same bracket as Duke was stupid. Let's be honest. Michigan State was in line possibly for a number one seed. They definitely should have been in the West. With when Gonzaga, who was rated as the lowest number 4 seed. They should not have been in a conference. They should not have been in a bracket with Duke, who is the overall number 1 seed. That just made zero sense to me. I don't care about the geography. How many times? I mean, we seen UConn go, number of times in Calhoun's Final Four teams where they went out west, not as a number 1 seed, but even as a number 2 seed. So that is ridiculous to even for that geography and that nonsense. The seeding also always should take precedent over the over geography and location. But so Michigan State's in the same bracket with Duke. Duke is deservedly the favorite. I think Michigan State will play Duke in the Elite Eight. The sleeper in that bracket to me is Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech was 17-3 before their point guard got hurt. They still finished 7-5, but we're able to keep their heads above water. But we're not the same team without him. They get him back to the tournament. If he can get them anything, they become a dangerous team. and they are scheduled to play Duke. They're number 4 seed. They could play Duke in the Sweet 16, and that would be a dangerous game for Duke. A game I think Duke will win, but they to me they are the sleeper of the East bracket. I have Duke advance into the Final Four, beat Michigan State in the Elite Eight. I'm looking at that bracket right now. Again, there's nothing really compelling about that bracket outside of Michigan State playing, hopefully playing Duke in the Elite Eight. That would be a great. I really like this Michigan State team, and I know Michigan State has had some shaky, despite Izzo, and Izzo's a top coach. We know he's a top coach. They've had some struggles recently in tournaments, some under teams that have underachieved. I like this team. This team is scrappy. This team has battled through injuries. They beat Michigan 3 times. Now this was a Michigan team that started off the season 17-0. This was a Michigan team that at one point was undefeated against ranked teams. They destroyed North Carolina. I know it was November, and North Carolina's not the same team, but they toyed with North Carolina in a November game at home. But this is a big time Michigan team, and I like Michigan to go far in this tournament as well. So to beat Michigan 3 times and to do it without a healthy team, they did it the one time in Ann Arbor. They didn't have Langford, Nick Ward, Nick Ward, and they went down there and had one of the most impressive wins of the season in Ann Arbor. And again, you beat a team 3 times. It is in conference a team, a top 10 team, a legitimate final. Michigan is a Final Four caliber team. So I like this Michigan State team. They're scrappy. They would give Duke a fight without question. I know Izzo's record against Krzyzewski has been awful, but it would be a great matchup. Hopefully, we get to see it. That is my pick in the East bracket, the Elite Eight, Michigan and Duke going to the Final Four. In terms of the West, I have Gonzaga's number 1 seed, but I don't trust Gonzaga. There's something about this Gonzaga team that I just don't like. There's always one bracket that I completely just blow up, and it was this bracket. I have Michigan and Florida State playing in the regional final. Buffalo's my sleeper. I have Michigan advancing to the Final Four to play Duke. I think Michigan has always been a quality tournament team. Beeline is a tremendous tournament coach. It is hard to prepare for Michigan, especially with the quick turnaround when you go from Friday to Sunday, or when you go from Thursday to Saturday in back-to-back weekends. It is very difficult to prepare for that team. They are a great defensive team. I know they're not. I know offensively they can have some. They have a couple of warts, but they have some tough guys as well, and they can play, and they will play any style. They'll go up and down the court. They'll do a little bit of transition. They'll also do some. They also can execute at a high level in the half court. And again, Beeline is a great tournament coach. They're a tournament coach. There are guys in the tournament who are great in regular season who have been mediocre. Rick Barnes, to say the least. That's why I'm not high on Tennessee. He's one of them who great regular season, but come tournament time, his teams always fall short. Beeline is the polar opposite of that. His teams get better as the year goes along. Now this year they had no way but down. They were 17-0. They were playing as well as any team in the country. They were they were, I wouldn't say overachieving, but there was no way that they were going to continue playing at that level. But in a decent Big Ten conference, a very good Big Ten conference. Um, so I like Michigan to get to the Final Four over a talented, athletic Florida State team. Again, Florida. A lot of times you'll see, and I saw this a couple times. Syracuse has done this a couple times, where you look at North Carolina, you look at Duke, you look at Virginia. That fourth team, that's a quality team in the conference, that's top heavy, kind of gets overlooked. Syracuse in '96 got overlooked when you had Georgetown, UConn, and Villanova, who all were legitimate championship contenders in '96. and Syracuse ended up playing for a national championship led by John Wallace. I'm not saying Florida State is going to get that far, but this Florida State team is dangerous. They're athletic. They're deep. They're well coached. They got to the Elite Eight last year. They're a better shooting team than they were last year. I seen them get into the Elite Eight and falling to a and fall into a talented Michigan team, which would be, if I'm not mistaken, that would be a rematch from last year's Elite Eight. I think Michigan beat them in the Elite Eight last year. I want to say they played in the Elite Eight last year. I'll come back with that before the program is out. But Florida State again is deep, athletic. They defend. You know, now they struggle. They can struggle to score, and that against a Michigan team that is a great defensive team, that that's where you have to give Michigan a slight edge, and also with D line. But don't discount Michigan, Florida State. I would not be shocked if Florida State is in the Final Four. Buffalo, we know what they did last year against Arizona. Um, Manhandled Arizona. That's a big Buffalo is a big time team. They won 31 games. They beat Syracuse at the Carrier Dome. Also took out West Virginia when West Virginia was playing was ranked early in the season. So this Buffalo team is legit and a team that could possibly get to the Sweet 16, maybe even further. But they definitely could be. I could definitely see them in the second weekend. So Michigan, I have in the East and West. I have Duke taking on Michigan in that first half of the Final Four bracket. We're gonna go south where Virginia is the number one seed. A lot of people are high on Virginia. I've had my share of Virginia disappointments. I'm not gonna fall for it. Last year I picked them to win the national championship. It's not gonna happen this year. I like Virginia a lot. I respect Virginia. I know how well Virginia has matched up and has given North Carolina all kinds of problems the last 3 or 4 years. I think Bennett is a top young coach. And I love how he's rebuilt that program. It is a they are a great program, but I just do not trust them in the postseason because they have one way of playing, and I just don't see where you have to have a plan B in the NCAA tournament. You have to be able to win games, uh, and you have to be able to win games with multiple styles. You cannot play one way and expect to win six tournament games. It's just not going to happen. Now they won't go out in the first round this year, but this is the bracket where I can see things getting a little crazy as well. I have Oregon and Cincinnati playing in the Elite Eight, and Cincinnati as a sleeper, and the Oregon Ducks making the Final Four. Now you can laugh at me, but there's always one bracket that I blow up. This was my blow up bracket. So this is a bracket that also features Tennessee, that also features Purdue, Villanova, Wisconsin. Uh, Villanova and Wisconsin are not the typical. They're not their vintage. Those are not vintage Villanova and Wisconsin teams. A lot of people are high on Tennessee. Tennessee is another team that does not have great tournament pedigree. And I know they had a great win against Kentucky on Saturday, and then they came back and got just their asses kicked by Auburn. Give Auburn some credit, but geez, I mean, Tennessee could you at least halfway showed up on Sunday. But I've never trusted Tennessee in big spots in the tournament, and I don't trust them now. I don't trust Virginia whatsoever. One of these years, because he's too good of a coach, Virginia's going to break through and get to the Final Four. I don't think this will. I don't think this will be the year. So I have Oregon, Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati has gone under the radar with their defense. I think Cincinnati will beat Tennessee in that third round game to get to the Sweet 16, and I think Cincinnati will face off against Oregon, who amazingly, if they got to the Final Four or even to the Elite Eight, would be an amazing coaching job considering that they don't have. I can't pronounce his name. I know he's Manute Bowles' son. He was a big time player. Is a big time player. Got injured early in the season. If they had him, they would be without question a top 10 team. But they've done a tremendous job at getting to the tournament and playing well down the stretch. They're my sleeper pick. Again, I wouldn't recommend, but that pick is one of those tournament picks. Again, I don't think there are any dominant teams. I just don't think they're these teams. They're not that many quality teams. So one there's always one bracket that I just completely just blow up. This was my blow up bracket. So I have Duke, Michigan, and Oregon so far. We go to the Midwest. North Carolina, of course, is the number one seed. The ACC was more than deserving of three number one seeds, especially with Kentucky, Tennessee both not winning their conference tournaments, and both neither one of them winning their regular season or conference tournaments. That kind of opened it up for North Carolina. I think North Carolina's performance against Duke opened up a lot of eyes. A lot of people were saying that Duke was going to manhandle North Carolina. That was the first thing from the case, from what actually happened. I have North Carolina and Houston in the regional final, with North Carolina going to the Final Four. I really like this Houston team, despite what happened Sunday against Cincinnati. Cincinnati is very good. It's in conference. Houston has had a big time year. I know everybody. Again, I couldn't go chalk with Kentucky. And I don't like how Kentucky finished the season. To be honest with you, the last couple of weeks, there's something about the Kentucky team that bothers me. I have two sleepers in that bracket: Iowa State and Auburn. Both of those teams are very good teams. I have Auburn taking out Kansas in I believe they would play in the Sweet 16. I'll pull it up real quick. They actually would play in the third round. It's really the second round, but they call it the third round since the first four is considered to be the first round. They would play on um, that Saturday. They would play on that Saturday in the round of 30. I'll just say the round of 32. This Kansas team is not a very good Kansas team. I know they lost the center at the beginning of the year. They lost Vic. They lost three. They lost three players. So if there was one year where Kansas was going to be on the decline and not be a vintage Kansas team, it was going to be this year. You don't blame self. These things happen, but this is definitely a year that Kansas is just not that good. So Duke, Michigan, Oregon, UNC. I have Duke over Michigan, and of course UNC taking out Oregon in the Final Four. Duke, North Carolina for the championship, and I have. This is the ultimate kibosh, but I'm gonna do it. This is what this is my gut feeling. I have North Carolina taking out Duke for the championship, and what would be another classic. I was listen. I was that Friday game. I thought Duke probably was going to win the game. Um, North Carolina shot 39% in that game, 4 of 27 from the 3 point line, and came within a Nasir Little tip or Kobe White jump shot from winning the game. And they could have easily won that game. Duke is a flawed team, and for a team with as much talent as they have, they are a flawed team. They're not very good shooting. They're a bad 3 point shooting team. They don't. They're not a deep team. I guess you don't have to be too deep in terms of your bench when you have three, maybe top five, top 10, at worst top 10 picks. Two will go in the top. Two could go in the top 3 or 4. Two will be without question top 5. Zion's gonna be the one pick, and Barrett probably. I can't see Barrett going lower than fifth or maybe even fourth. So they are loaded with talent. Point guard Trey Jones is a quality point guard, classic defender, leader type point guard. But they have some flaws. I mean, they again with the shooting. You run into one of these teams that knocks down 15, 16 threes, and you have a night where you're 3 for 18 from 3 point line, you could easily go home in the NCAA tournament. So the 3 point shot is the ultimate equalizer in the NCAA tournament. So again, this is not a homer pick. Me picking North Carolina. I think Carolina's playing their best ball at the right time. We know Roy Williams is a great tournament coach. They have a number of veteran guys on that team. And they, again, North Carolina in years that they've gone out in the second round of semifinals of the ACC tournament, whether it be in 2005, whether it be in 2009, and also in even in 2017, they have gone on to win a national championship. So again, I'm kind of nervous because everybody, it seems like everybody's picking Duke in North Carolina. Matter of fact, Duke is the favorite. Duke, you look at these tournament challenges, Duke is the, 64% picking Duke, like 15 or 20% picking North Carolina. Again, I don't like when everybody is, I don't like going along with what everybody's picking. It makes, especially for, you know, picking this tournament, it makes me nervous, but this was my gut feeling. And this was who I had in my bracket. And probably, when I do my first, I'll do probably 7 to 8 brackets. A lot of them would either have Duke or North Carolina winning the championship. I think there are probably, I want to say about 5 teams that could win it. I think, of course, Duke, North Carolina could win it. I think Michigan could win it. I think Michigan State could win it. I'm not big on Tennessee. Not big on Kentucky this year. And I think Gonzaga probably would be that 15. So I think there are probably 5 teams that can win the whole thing. You can stretch it out to anywhere from 10 to 20 that could possibly get to the Final Four. But this time, listen, this Final Four is going to be about Zion Williamson, one, and two, the possibility of a fourth matchup between Duke and North Carolina. Those are going to be the two recurring themes of this NCAA tournament, the two defining themes of this NCAA tournament. Uh, Good week for the NBA. From Wednesday, from the Houston Golden State game on to tonight, where you had again San Antonio extending their win streak. Yesterday, now, unfortunately, injuries, seemingly rear their ugly head this time of year, going into the playoffs. That's a big loss for Milwaukee, losing Malcolm Brogdon. I was looking at his numbers today. He's basically 16 points, shooting 50% from the field, 42% from three-point range, and 90% from the line. And a very above average defensive player. He's turned himself into a hell of an NBA guard. I didn't think he was going to be this good coming out of college, and I watched him at Virginia, closely watched him at Virginia. He is a very good player, and that they cannot replace him. Now, best case scenario, they win their first round, which they should, and he comes back somewhere in the middle of the second round, which they absolutely will need him, whoever they play. Philly's playing better. Philly is loaded. The Sixers have so much talent. Like, they don't even need all those guys playing well at the same time. That's how much talent they have. It's Golden State like, not as talented, but it's, not that far off. But again, they have to prove it in the postseason as well, especially with the coach, with Jimmy Butler. We'll see about that when it comes postseason time. Right now, Sixers are playing well. That was a classic duel between two of the brightest young stars in the league right now with Embiid and the Greek Freak. The Greek Freak scores so easily. Is like he barely broke a sweat and got 52 points. He did not. It is remarkable how that guy can score and be you know, that dynamic without a consistent jump shot. It's just, I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen anything like it. He does not have to have he can develop unlike Ben Simmons, unlike some other guys, he's not afraid to shoot. He'll shoot it. Like, he knocked down a couple threes last night, yesterday afternoon. He was not afraid to take a shot, but he also doesn't take bad shots. Like, his 3-point shots are wide open, like wide open. So he doesn't, he does not take bad shots. Golden State just toyed with Oklahoma City Saturday night. Westbrook, again, we talked about that earlier. That was a dumb technical foul. It was a selfish move on his point. Served no purpose. He got suspended. They lost tonight. But overall, they got Golden State just toyed with them. And I'm looking at that game, and Golden State played even in the Houston game. They played with I don't want to. They played with a calmness, a joy, and I think it was kind of like a subliminal message to Kevin Durant. Like, we really don't need you to win a championship. Like, we may be better with you, but we can win it without you because we've won it without you. The Marcus Cousins was great against Houston. Um, Oklahoma City was just a clinic by the Splash Brothers. It was just a clinic. As long as those guys are in their prime, Golden State will always be near at the top of the NBA Heat. That's just the bottom line. As long as those two guys are in their prime, which they are clearly in their primes right now, Golden State will always be a title contender, regardless of who else is on the team. It's gonna be very interesting though. I was watching tonight's game. Um, Draymond Green, and people have talked about his drop off, and I've been watching more Golden State lately, and I'm thinking about some maybe people are overblowing it, maybe people are making too much about it. No, he not only so much defensively, like offensively, right at this point, he's like playing 5-on-4. Like, he's not even a threat offensively. I mean, defensively he's still decent, but I'm telling you right now, don't be surprised if you have some closing lineups where I, he probably won't do this, but you know, could Cousins be an option to be on the closing lineup versus Draymond? If Draymond's not giving you anything, could you put a lineup out there with Curry, Thompson, Iguodala, Cousins, Livingston? I mean, you could play? Why couldn't you play Livingston at? I guess it wouldn't work. Livingston at the third guard, and you had Durant, you have Iguodala. Well, that's too many players. What am I talking about? I'm trying to. I don't know if Draymond looks bad. I'm trying like you can go depending on the floor of the game. I mean, you Curry, Thompson, Durant, Iguodala, Cousins. Why can you? So yeah, that's 6. That's 5. Curry, Thompson, Durant, Iguodala, Cousins. I mean, it doesn't matter who plays the power. I mean, depending on the matchup, I mean, Durant or Iguodala could play power. Cousins clearly will be the center, but I'm just saying like Durant is excuse me, Draymond is a liability right now. Offensively, he's a liability, not defensively. I mean, he's still above average defender, not on the level that he was as a streaming live on YouTube with back up here on my YouTube channel. We will be taking this to Blog Talk Radio later on. I would say this evening it'll be available through Blog Talk Radio. So stay tuned for that. Um, but again, I wonder how it goes where you have Draymond and Bogut on the floor at the same time. That's just not going to happen, especially against a team like Houston. With the amount of scoring weapons that they could put on the floor. But Draymond looks bad offensively. And it's not even so much of his defense, but offensively he looks horrible. Wanted to get on this college bribery case, and of course, at the head of it or at the center of it, you had Lori Loughlin and Felicity Huffman, and I read some stuff on it, and one of the thing that stood out about it to me is if you're a parent and you're buying grades, you're buying, admissions tests, spots on a sailing team or a tennis team and what have you. It's the message that you're sending to your child. That message isn't "I love you and I'll do anything for you and I want you to be well educated." You know what the message is to your child? You ain't shit. And if it wasn't for this money, you wouldn't be shit. That's the message. Like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, so it's one thing to buy grades, but how are you gonna hide playing a sport? Like eventually that's gonna get exposed that this person, this girl or this young man or young lady is not can't play this sport at a Division 1 or even Division 2 level. But again, the overriding message to your child is you ain't shit without this money. And if we didn't have these tens of millions of dollars, you would starve. I mean, that's the message that you're sending. That is you know, right? They're not gonna come out and say that to their kid, but that's what you're doing with your actions. So I don't feel bad. Hard to feel bad somebody with that kind of privilege, but you kind of that's part of me feels, you know, I don't know. Like I said, I feel it's hard. I can't feel sorry for somebody, but part of me just wonders, what do you just what do you your child is your child that dumb, or you just don't want to make them work hard? Those are the questions that you ask. You just don't want to push them to work to earn it. But that story comes out, and it's not surprising at all. But it's just it's like it's next level privilege. I mean, next level privilege. So, and we'll continue to go on. But again, the thing that jumped out to me is the idea that it's one thing to fake, to buy test scores, and it's one thing to buy um, grades, but you can't fake not being good at tennis. You can't fake being good at soccer or even sailing. You can't fake that. That cannot be bought. Like you're a coach, you're on a team, you're a coach, you're gonna take somebody who you know doesn't belong on a team based on a bribe or based on that. If I'm a coach, I'm like, I'm take these L's, and that's a scholarship that you can give to a player, to somebody, an athlete that's going to help me actually win events or win games. So that was that part of those parts stood out as far as as far as that particular case and that particular story. But again, nothing surprised me about that story. We see that, I mean, money is power. It'll continue to happen. It's just the fact that these you have Felicity Huffman and Aunt Becky behind this or a part of this. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. As always, this is the Real Deal Podcast with Cyril Gerald Quinn, with no telling it like it is, with no apologies. Thanks for listening.